Part 3. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 21. Chapter 21 Cleaned up the gangsters. Yuan ignored him and knocked on the door. "It's me, open the door." Bang dang, the door opened, and it was Chin Dazu who opened the door. When he saw it was Yuan, he immediately said in surprise, "It's Miss Fourth here." "What's going on with them?" Yuan pointed at the people who were still shouting outside. Chin Dazu saw that Yuan was not afraid of these people outside. He immediately stood up and said respectfully to Yuan, "Fourth Miss, these people are here to collect protection money. I don't have any money to give, so they blocked the door. How much do they want for protection fees?" Back to the fourth lady, "They said that our village is big and very laborious. They charge 10 taels of silver a month, and they say this is the lowest." Yuan turned around, looked at the man named Mr. Hong, and said with a half smile, "Master Hong, right? You need to collect protection money, right?" Yuan came down the steps step by step. The young man in black was still standing in front of the door. Seeing her going down the steps, he could only wink. Other people felt the intimidating aura on Yuan's body, and they didn't understand why a little girl had such a frightening aura. They all consciously stepped out of the way. Yuan walked up to Mr. Hong and looked up at the tall Mr. Hong. Mr. Hong felt uncomfortable being stared at by this little brat. He straightened his chest and coughed a few times. "Yes, I am Mr. Hong, who specializes in managing this street. It's just right that you are the young lady of Zhuangzi. Let you mom and dad bring the money, otherwise don't blame us for being rude." Yuan shook her head. A fool like this still charges protection money? Didn't he have the eyes to see the man in black at the door being tapped by her? Tisk, 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 Lord Hong has so much power. Does Lord Hong have any documents? Yuan circled around the idiot. The other gangsters didn't know what Yuan was doing, why they were surrounding their Mr. Hong, looking at him like goods. Yuan turned back to Mr. Hong. Suddenly she got up and punched Mr. Hong in the stomach. Ouch, ah, with a scream, Master Hong was punched to the ground by Yuan. Yuan took a few quick steps and stepped on Mr. Hong's chest. Still smiling, he asked, "How about it, Mr. Hong, do you have any documents? If you do, take them out and let me have a look." Everyone was dumbfounded. Where did this little girl appear as a monster? How could such a small person get such great power? Mr. Hong was stepped on by Yuan. He wanted to move, but he couldn't. He knew that he was facing a tough situation today, so he stammered, "Sister-in-law, we don't have any paperwork. We are doing this on our own initiative to protect the folks on this street as a joke." The clerks and officials all wanted to catch them and chop off their heads. There were so many of them, one went in and another came out. It's just that they were released after a few days at a time. After this process several times, the government officials no longer bothered to care about them. They had to take care of their food after entering. They can survive today only because they have never caused any harm to anyone. Yuan touched her chin. "Well, that's illegal." "Since it's illegal, can I still collect the protection fee here? Do you still want to protect us?" Yuan stepped on her chest hard and the pain was so painful that Mr. Hong couldn't breathe. "Ahem, cough, cough, my aunt has mercy on me. I don't dare to collect protection money anymore, mother, it hurts him to death. If he exerts any more force, his life will be ruined." Yuan turned around and glanced at the crowd. There were 18 people in total. At this time, their heads were nodding like chickens pecking at rice. "We don't dare anymore. We don't dare anymore. Let us, Mr. Hong, go." There were several others doing bows with her. "I don't believe you. Then you are dissatisfied and come to trouble me again, committing murder and arson. Oh my God, what should I do?" Yuan patted her small chest and exclaimed in surprise. At this time, all the neighbors came out. When this gang of gangsters made trouble at this door, no one dared to open the door. Now some bolder ones came out and looked here, but no one dared to say a word. As Yuan said, if the gangsters seek revenge, it will be useless for them to die. When Master Hong saw Yuan's frightened look, he really wanted to stand up and beat her to death. Who is afraid of whom? He's still under her feet, how can he mess around like this in the future? I lost all my face. He gritted his teeth and said, my aunt, how is this possible? This murder and arson will be beheaded. Don't worry, my aunt, we won't appear in front of my aunt when we leave this town. If we can't do it, there will be 5 thunders from heaven boom. Yes, 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 Grandma, let's leave now and stay far away, the others echoed. This is indeed a good idea, but today you scared my Uncle Chin, what should I do? Upon hearing this, Mr. Hong said, quick, 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 take out all the money you have and give Mr. Chin some relief. Ah, Mr. Hong, this. Everyone quit, and they finally got some money. Hurry up, Mr. Hong roared. Everyone reluctantly took out their money and handed it to Chin Dazu. Chin Dazu was confused the whole time. He knew that their young lady had been in trouble, but he didn't expect that she, a 9-year-old girl, could control these people with such a bad experience. He only came back to his senses when the gangster thrust the silver notes into his hand. Yuan saw that the gangsters had all paid out their money, so she moved her hand to Mr. Hong, who was clever. He had no choice but to take off the money bag from his waist and handed it to Yuan. She opened the money bag, and inside there were only a few taels of loose silver, dozens of copper plates, and 2 100-tael silver notes. Yuan left 10 copper coins in the money bag, and she took the rest. Then she threw the money bag to Mr. Hong. She curled her lips, pulled back her feet and said, I'm so poor. She thought, the boss has 1,000 taels of silver anyway, he didn't expect to be so poor. Mr. Hong spat out a mouthful of old blood. He was punched and kicked today, and he also lost face and money. This girl actually despised him for being poor. He was really angry like no one else. Hong Ye, a group of gangsters quickly supported Hong Ye. Mr. Hong glanced at Yuan and said, let's go. A group of gangsters led Mr. Hong and ran quickly, as if they were afraid that Yuan would catch up with them. But they seemed to have forgotten one person, the man in black who had been tapped by Yuan, who was still standing at the door with a look of horror on his face. Yuan stepped forward and touched him, and the man suddenly collapsed on the ground. Yuan winked at Chin Dazu, and Chin Dazu pulled a money bag from his waist, took out the silver and threw it back into the money bag. Then he kicked the person down the stone staircase. Master and servant enter the house and close the door. The neighbors were also frightened by Yuan's operation. Seeing that nothing was wrong, they all closed their doors. In the house, Chin Dazu handed a handful of silver bills to Yuan. Yuan only took a few silver bills, and she didn't ask for the rest. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 22. Chapter 22, Going Up the Mountain. Fourth Miss, this. Chin Dazu saw that Yuan only took the bank notes, and she didn't ask for any other broken silver or copper plates. Take it, I'll give you some relief. This handful is worth about 10 taels of silver at least. Why don't you give it up if the fourth lady says you don't want it? Ah, then, thank you Miss Fourth, Chin Dazu carefully put it away. How are things going on the farm, how are the crops growing? Yuan asked as he walked towards the place where crops are grown in the village. Miss Fourth, the village is basically full of rice, and no one is taking care of it. This year's harvest may not be very good. There are also soybeans that have been harvested, but there are no others. Yuan heard this and thought it was normal. There was no hybrid rice in this world, no chemical fertilizers, and no one to take care of it. It would be strange if the harvest was good. However, she can plant some rice in the space. The products produced in the space should be high quality. In terms of yield and quality, it should be much more productive than those grown outside. As I walked closer, I found that the rice was wilted and 1/3 of the ears were empty husks. At this moment, Ms. Jean Ming and her son and daughter were pulling grass at the edge of the rice field. "Uncle Chin, tell them not to pull grass. It's useless. It's hot and don't suffer from heat stroke. Let's harvest the rice in a few days." "Hey, okay, Miss Fourth," Chin Dazo responded quickly. "Yuan, do you have a place to cook here?" "Yes, Miss Fourth, don't worry, we have them all. As long as you have everything, if you are missing something, go back to Uncle Zhu. I want to go up the mountain, so you can go and do your work." After Yuan finished speaking, she walked up the mountain from the field stem. As expected, this village is connected to the mountain. As Yuan walked, he tore off a few rice ears and threw them into the space to plant them later. Yuan went straight up the mountain from the foot of the mountain. The Daqingshan mountain stretches for hundreds of miles, and Qinglian town is also under the Daqingshan mountain. Climbing halfway up the mountain, the whole town comes into view. The 4 streets in the southeast and northwest are like a cross, simple and neat. Yuan continued to climb the mountain. The chirping of insects and birds on the mountain was like a symphony, and the various sounds were loud and long. This is Yuan's true experience of the mountains, forests, and trees of this world. Last time she just arrived and hurried down the mountain before she had time to take a good look. Yuan continued walking deep into the mountains. The trees in the mountains were getting thicker and thicker, and the weeds were overgrown, engulfing her small body. The further you go, the dimmer the light becomes, but the cooler it becomes, and gradually more and more small animals appear. The little squirrel jumped back and forth among the big trees as thick as an arm. When he saw Yuan approaching, he disappeared with a whoosh sound. Many hares were eating green grass, chewing it with their small mouths very rhythmically. That cute little appearance made Yuan reluctant to kill her. But who is she? She is an agent. A hare just makes her look at it twice. Yuan took out the dagger, and with a whoosh sound, the dagger hit the rabbit's head. Yuan went up, picked up the hare, threw it into the space, and continued walking forward. This direction probably came from Zhuangzi. It was untraveled, allowing Yuan to catch a lot of hares and pheasants, and also touched a lot of eggs. It was getting dark, so Yuan found a cave and entered the space. Of course, the first thing she did when entering the space was to offer sacrifices to the 5 internal organs temple. After walking in the mountains for an hour and a half, I was already hungry. This time her space has basically all the barbecue items. The only regret is that there are no chili peppers. It seems that no one here knows what chili peppers are. There is no such thing in Yuan's memory. She often goes out in the mountains and has never encountered any wild ones. Having no other choice, she made do with roasting a hare, but luckily she had salt. Yuan finished eating half of the rabbit and some fruits. Then she sat in the space and began to practice. Every time she practiced, she felt that her dantian was warm and her whole body felt very comfortable, as if she was bathed in the morning light and her whole body was transparent. After practicing, Yuan took out the few rice ears that she pulled in the field during the day and wiped the grains off. Use the dagger to dig a small hole in the open space and plant the millet. There were no fields in the space, it was all black soil, so she tried to see if it could sprout and grow normally. After planting, she poured some spiritual spring water into each nest, hoping that the almighty spiritual spring water would surprise her. After doing this, she picked all the ripe fruits in the space. Yuan spent several hours picking the fruits. Seeing so many fruits piled in the open space, she didn't know what to do with them. She wants to imitate others in making fruit bars at home, but she really doesn't know how. She just sat there blankly like this, wondering why she, a person who specializes in killing people and stealing goods, was asked to come here? Since time traveler lets her wear it, why not let her wear it into the world of immortals and let her experience the feeling of being a god? Yuan actually dislikes such a life. If the original owner didn't have so many brothers and sisters, and all of them are fine. And with her status as a cheap mother-in-law, I don't know what kind of events are waiting for the brothers and sisters in the future. She couldn't let go of this, otherwise she could have given their family a large amount of money and made them rich for the rest of their lives. If they were a little more hateful and selfish, she would repay the karma of this body and walk away. But the children were so cute, especially Xiao Wu and Xiao Lu. She didn't know what would become of the two little things if she left. Hey, just farm, it's pretty good now, Yuan comforted herself. Then she will train a few children to pursue official careers. Based on her knowledge in her previous life, she is not religious enough to produce a useful person. Yuan stood up and looked back at the grains she had planted. Sure enough, before she arrived, she saw green on the ground. She walked in and took a look, and was really pleasantly surprised. The magical spring water in this magical space was simply an artifact, and it sprouted in such a short time. It seems that I will grow some vegetables in the future and have fresh vegetables to eat every day. Yuan returned to the wooden house, picked up the unfinished Wan Xiao Jing and continued reading. The next day, Yuan came out of the space and stood in the cave. The morning air was extremely fresh. She took a few deep breaths of the air that smelled of green grass and trees, and she felt refreshed. Yuan came out of the cave and walked deeper into the forest. She held a dagger and was always alert. After entering the deep mountains, large beasts appeared. She didn't dare to be careless. She could deal with one alone, but facing a group of them would be a bit difficult. In previous lives, there were people fighting wolves with bare hands in the wild, but at that time it was a team of people, not a single person. Yuan paid attention to the herbs under her feet as she walked. If they were useful, she would dig them up twice with her dagger and throw them into the space. Thanks to her reading the book of Wanko, the herbs recorded in the book cannot escape her eyes. Since she practiced star art, she feels that her eyes are like those blazing golden eyes. Not only can she see at night, but she can also remember and recognize anything that passes her eyes. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 23. Chapter 23. Two tigers fighting each other. Yuan walked around all morning and encountered only small animals, not even a large one. She lamented that she was lucky. She dug a lot of herbs and found a wild pepper plant. She moved the whole plant into the space. The food here is really not flattering. The stir-fried dishes only contain oil and salt. If you are rich, you can use soybeans to make bean paste and add some when stir-frying. There are no restaurants in this town, there are just some noodle shops, steamed bun shops, and restaurants. Needless to say about the taste. In the future, she may consider opening a restaurant. Although she doesn't know how to cook or run a restaurant, she is someone who has eaten pork and seen pigs run away, and she has a modern brain, so she can definitely do it. In the afternoon, Yuan estimated that she had gone 100 miles deep. When she encountered large beasts, she avoided them. Yuan passed by a valley with a pond in it. She looked around and prepared to enter. At this time, a sudden change occurred, and a high-pitched tiger roar came from the valley. Yuan immediately retracted her feet, retreated to the mouth of the valley, quickly climbed up a big tree next to her, and looked into the valley with her full eyes. Deep in the valley, two white tigers were facing each other. The one whistling was the one on the inside, as if warning the white tiger in front of it. None of the white tigers outside were interested. The white tiger jumped up, opened its mouth and bit the white tiger inside. Not to be outdone, the white tiger inside opened its mouth wide and raised its paws to meet the white tiger outside. The two white tigers bit each other and I bit you, and they scratched each other. Before long, both white tigers were covered in blood. Yuan saw that the two white tigers were equally powerful, and they couldn't tell the winner for a long time. The white tiger inside wouldn't let the white tiger outside get close to the cliff, thinking that the white tiger inside was protecting something. Yuan looked curious. She would have no problem going down to take care of the two injured white tigers now. Just as she was about to go down, the white tiger inside suddenly jumped up and bit the neck of the white tiger outside. The white tiger outside was in pain, and it became angry. It held up the white tiger inside and threw it desperately, trying to throw the white tiger against the stone wall. Sure enough, the white tiger outside was thrown hard, and the white tiger inside was thrown hard against the stone wall. After a loud noise, the white tiger inside fell to the ground and became motionless. The white tiger outside didn't get any benefits either, half of its neck was still in the mouth of the white tiger inside. The white tiger outside staggered a few steps and fell to the ground motionless. Oh, both sides suffer, Yuan sighed. She quickly climbed down the tree and ran towards the two white tigers. Sure enough, the two white tigers had already seen God. Yuan waved her hand and the two white tigers retracted into the space. She turned her head and went to the place where the white tiger was guarding to see what the two white tigers were fighting for without even risking their lives. Yuan cautiously approached the cliff. There was a cave as high as one person under the cliff. She didn't rush in and cut a branch with a dagger. She put the branch into the hole. There was no sound inside, so she used her eyesight and walked into the hole. There were pits on the ground, but fortunately they were all dry, about 1 foot long. There was a sound of woo-woo-woo coming from the front. Yuan listened carefully and heard another sound of woo-woo-woo. She slowed her pace and approached slowly. Yuan twitched her mouth when she saw the sound of woo-woo-woo. It turned out to be two little white tigers. Ah, it turns out it's you two little things. It turns out that the white tiger inside is protecting its children. Well, that's not right, those two are males, what about the female? Yuan felt something was wrong at this moment. The two males had been fighting for so long, why didn't they see the tigress? It makes no sense for a female tiger to be in confinement. The male tiger is here to guard the baby while the female tiger looks for food. Moreover, these two little white tigers must have just been born, and their eyes have not yet opened. What should I do? Yuan was confused and left by herself. It would be okay if the tigress came back, but what if the tigress was killed? Hey, little thing, what should I do? Yuan picked up one of them, and saw someone holding it. The mouth was searching everywhere for its food. When he touched her little finger, he opened it and sucked it. Ouch, the little thing is so hungry. Yuan was also drunk, and she could only draw blood from her fingers. She couldn't help it. Seeing that the little thing was very hungry, she scooped out a bowl of spiritual spring water from the space and held the water with her fingers for it to drink. Maybe it was because they were hungry, or maybe because the spiritual spring water was so sweet. The two little guys drank a bowl of spiritual spring water before burping and falling asleep. Hey, little ones, come with me, maybe your mother is dead. Yuan put their nests together in the space, so as not to adapt to the change of environment. Huh, what is this? Yuan saw that the nest had been moved away, and a blue money bag was placed under the nest. She picked it up. The bag was bulging. She opened it and poured out the contents. When she saw it, she took a breath and saw 10,000 taels of silver notes and 600 taels of silver notes, as well as a bag of gold leaves and a map. Yuan put the bank notes, gold leaves, and money bag into the space. She took the map and looked around the cave. There was nothing there before she left the cave. She quickly climbed up a tree and entered the space. She took the map and looked at it carefully. Looking at the whole map, it seems that there is a red dot marked on the winding lines of this big green mountain. Yuan didn't know what it meant. There wasn't a single word on the map, it was just lines. TCH, after looking at it for a long time, I couldn't see anything. I thought it was some kind of treasure map, which made me happy in vain. Yuan simply threw it on the table, not bothering to waste her time. She estimated that the person who lost the money bag thought it was a treasure map and came to Dakingshan to look for it. Maybe he never came back. Otherwise, why wouldn't such an important money bag be recovered with so much money? Ticket. Yuan came down from the tree and was ready to take care of the 2 white tigers here. She walked to the pond and threw out 2 white tigers. He took out his dagger and started skinning and picking out the flesh. In 2 sticks of incense, he cleaned up the 2 white tigers. Yuan looked at the peeled skin. The front half was basically useless. She cut off the back part and could piece it together into a coat later. She left the unwanted entrails and the unwanted skin where they were. There were many wild animals in the mountains, and these things would be eaten up before dawn. After tidying up, Yuan took off her clothes and took a nice bath on the other side of the pond. After washing, she got up and got dressed, threw the dirty clothes into the space, and prepared to leave. She has been in the mountains for more than a day. She will stay another day tomorrow before heading back home. The little ones must be anxious at home. Huh, what is this? When Yuan was about to leave, she saw a large pepper-like pole with round red fruits growing on the ground. She picked one and smelled it, the smell of chili pepper. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 24. Chapter 24. Is this pepper? Yuan was very happy. If this was chili pepper, she would never have to eat white dishes again. Are there just round chili peppers? The peppers in my memory are either hot peppers as big as a little finger, long green striped peppers, or vegetable peppers. But regardless of whether it is, you will know if you cut one open. Yuan took the dagger and opened it. She sniffed it again and said, "Sneeze, sneeze," which made her sneeze. She licked it with her tongue. Shhhhhhh was so spicy that she shushed. Ha ha ha, it's really chili pepper. Yuan was so happy. It's not that there aren't any here, it's that no one has discovered them. Yuan used her dagger to move the plants into the space one by one. Ah, I'm so happy today. She hummed a tune of unknown tune while digging. These peppers are all red now. As long as they survive in the space and the seeds are ripe, she can plant them in large quantities. I made her all the spicy food she liked. She didn't eat chili for a few days, and her mouth turned pale. Yuan was happy for a long time, and finally successfully moved the pepper into the space. Ah, Yuan stood up and stretched her old waist, which she had squatted for a long time. Fortunately, she had done some exercises, otherwise, she might not be able to straighten her waist. Yuan stood for a while. Seeing that it was getting dark again, she simply barbecued the pheasant in the field. The hare she had for lunch was changed to a different flavor in the evening, and now there was chili, which made her a little impatient. Yuan cut down a big stick and gathered some dry and hard firewood. The most indispensable thing in this primitive-like forest was trees. Yuan is the best at survival skills in the wild. It didn't take long for her to put the pheasant on skewers and grill it. Looking at the roasted golden pheasant, Yuan cut the pepper into pieces and put it in a bowl. Then she rounded a wooden stick with a dagger, mashed the pepper, and applied it on the roasted pheasant. Suddenly, the aroma of roasted chicken with chili wafted out, making her saliva drool from the corner of her mouth. Bah, no future. Yuan swallowed. She had never eaten any delicacies in her previous life. It had only been 10 days before she was so greedy. Yuan took the roasted pheasant and put it to her nose, smelled it, opened her mouth and bit it. Suddenly, a green shadow flashed in front of his eyes, and the pheasant in his hand disappeared even with the stick. What is it? Yuan picked up the dagger on the ground and was on guard. She looked around carefully and heard rustling sounds coming from a foot away from the mountain wall, so she hurriedly jumped over. Yuan was startled by this sight. A small green snake with a big thumb and about a foot long was swallowing the roast chicken. Seeing Yuan coming over, it didn't seem to be afraid of her. It stuck out its tongue hissingly as if it was being stung, and looked at her with its two triangular eyes as if complaining. Yuan laughed angrily at the snake. She was not afraid of it either. She knelt down, pointed at the green snake with a dagger and said, "You are a snake that steals chickens. I just roasted them and you stole them. You still blamed me for roasting them to lie. What's your point?" The little snake rolled his triangular eyes. "You stupid girl, my young master is Teng Shi, does Teng Shi understand? How can those low-level snakes compare? Yuan really saw a ghost. This snake can still roll its eyes. But why is it rolling its eyes? Hey, it's like a chicken talking to a duck. How can this girl understand his young master? Forget it, let's eat chicken." So Mr. Teng Shi ignored Yuan, swung his tail, and held his towards her to eat his roast chicken. "Mr. Teng Shi, well, it tastes pretty good, but why is it so spicy? I've never had this before, but it's quite delicious." Yuan's face turned dark. Forget it, she wouldn't care about a snake. Seeing that she was quite spiritual, she didn't kill it. She returned to the fire and roasted another one. The green snake must have been full and did not come to grab it this time. Yuan ate quickly, burped, and scooped a glass of water from the space to drink. Suddenly, another green shadow flashed past, and there was no cup in his hand. Yuan chased after him again and saw that the green snake had only one tail outside the cup, and the snake's head got into his arms to drink the water. Yuan was no longer calm. Did she encounter a monster? After a while, the green snake came out of the cup contentedly, staring at Yuan with its two triangular eyes filled with stars. Yuan took a few steps back and defended it with a dagger. "Are you a monster?" The green snake rolled his eyes at her again. "When did it become a monster?" "Hey, you ignorant dead girl. But where did a little girl like her get the spiritual spring water?" "Huh. The little girl has some cultivation, but she is still on the first level, so weak." Yuan couldn't laugh or cry. The green snake rolled his eyes at her again, looking down on her so much. Forget it, she, Yuan, is not a narrow-minded person. She has nothing to care about with a little snake. She left quickly and didn't ask for the cup. She didn't have the guts to drink from the snake after it had drunk it. Its dark green color made it look like it was extremely poisonous. Yuan ran far away, and then she ducked into the space. What happened today was really too scary and fantastic. She thought this was a world of immortal cultivation. Yuan continued to practice, and then she got up and took a look at the seedlings. When I walked in, I saw that there were still seedlings here. They were already heading and growing strong. She poured some spiritual spring water on the rice properly before returning to bed and continued reading the Wan Cao Jing until she fell asleep. The next day, Yuan took care of herself in the space, and then came out of the space after eating. Ah, it's so scary. As soon as Yuan came out, she stepped on the green snake, which scared her so much that she jumped away immediately. The snake was still there, so Yuan ran away. Mr. Teng Shi is so talented. Last night, he smelled the smell and found it here, but the smell of the dead girl was no longer there. He was looking here, but he couldn't find it. He could only wait here. Sure enough, that dead girl showed up, and just stepped on it, and it didn't even cry out in pain. What the is that dead girl screaming about? Huh? You little girl ran away and wanted to get rid of me. Teng Shi chased Yuan in the direction with a whoosh sound. Here I go, I really encountered a snake spirit disease. If I catch up with it again, if I don't kill it, ha ha ha. Yuan stopped, panting heavily, and there were so many people here. It's not that easy to run through the mountains filled with thorns and weeds. Phew, a green shadow floated in mid-air and stopped in front of her. Yuan turned her hand over, and the dagger appeared in her hand. She aimed at the green snake and quickly threw the dagger, swipe, and the dagger flew out. The dagger flew out and hit a big tree instead of a green snake. Yuan was a little dumbfounded. How could this green snake avoid her extremely fast speed? Seeing Yuan in a daze, Mr. Tengshi despised Yuan and wanted to kill her at this speed. Young Master Teng Snake's triangular eyes rolled around. Humph. I want to get rid of my young master, but there's no way. I saw a green shadow flashing across Yuan's fingertips. Ah, Yuan screamed. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 25. Chapter 25 picked up a greedy snake. It's over, I'm going to die. Don't you know that the poison of the snake spirit disease can poison people? It's only been 6 or 7 days since I came here and I'm going to die again. I wonder if I can go back if I die now. Yuan felt very uncomfortable. The family here is still waiting for her to return. If she died on this mountain, there would definitely be no bones left, and they would not be able to see her even if they wanted to. How could she be so unlucky that she met the legendary farmer and snake? Oh, it was a peasant girl and a snake. What is a farmer and a snake? At this moment, a little boy's voice suddenly appeared in Yuan's mind. It's over, now I'm starting to have hallucinations, I'm going to die. Oh, that's it, just die. Anyway, I'm not from here, Yuan thought to herself. You are not from here? Where are you from? Are you from the world of immortality? Did you come here by seizing a body? Suddenly the little boy's voice appeared in Yuan's head again. Yuan was shocked. No, this is not an illusion. Who is speaking? She looked around, but there was no one. She looked at her hands. Huh? My hands are not injured anymore. What's going on? Whew, the green snake floated in front of her eyes again, staring at Yuan with a pair of playful triangular eyes. The injury on your hand is healed. My saliva is a holy medicine for healing and detoxifying. I don't know, I must have been stupid. Yuan finally came to her senses and pointed at the green snake. Is it you who is talking? She pointed to the green snake and said, do you recognize me as your lord? She pointed to herself again. Green snake nodded. Yeah. Yuan slapped the green snake in the past. This time, the green snake did not escape and was slapped to the ground. You are such a shameless person, you almost scared me to death. Why do you accept me as your master? Speak carefully, otherwise I won't mind stewing you. Yuan was furious. What a broken snake, but he still recognized his master. Did she agree? It is your honor to recognize you as my master. How many people are rushing to make me recognize you as my master, and they don't know what is good or bad. The green snake's fart is very smelly, and it looks like it's worth 2.85 million yuan. Speak English. I am a Tengshi, it's not you who has spiritual spring water. Green snake, oh, it was Tengshi finally said weakly. Soaring snake, isn't this the legendary relic of ancient times? Yuan frowned. How could such a creature live here? It mentioned the world of cultivating immortals before. Is there really a world of cultivating immortals? Little snake, what's going on in the world of immortality you mentioned before? I am a soaring snake, not a little snake. The world of cultivating immortals is the world of cultivating immortals. It's not the case here. Haven't you already started cultivating, don't you know? Yuan was stunned for a moment after hearing this. In the world of cultivating immortals, the Xin Chenju is a technique for cultivating immortals, and I have just started to learn it. Yuan's brain suddenly ran out of energy. It was so confusing. There were so many questions at once. Calm down and slowly clarify them. Yuan took a deep breath. Little snake, if you accept me as your master, then I am your master, right? Tang Snake nodded. Yuan, then the master asked you, what do you mean by seizing the body? That's what you mean, use someone else's body for your body, but your own soul. Yuan, not time travel. What the is time travel? Yuan, well, then you said this is not a world of immortality. Yes, this interface is the mortal world, and the world of cultivating immortals is in another interface. Yuan, what I practice is the cultivation of immortality. Yeah, I'm just getting started, practicing Qi at the first level. Yuan, how do you know so much? How did you get here? Sir, I am a mythical beast. How did it come here? Of course it was knocked down. I have been here for 800 years, and yesterday I finally saw the spiritual spring water and something with spiritual energy. Yuan, besides detoxifying and healing wounds with your saliva, what other skills do you have? Eat, there is no spiritual energy here, I'm almost turning into a monster. Hurry, 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 let me drink some more of the spiritual spring water. Yuan, whose young master are you? Ah, I am not the master is the master, ah, no, the master is the mother, the master. Tang Snake shook his head and nodded again, which looked so funny. Will you betray the Lord? Why are you betraying your master? Master, you are the master, ah, bah, you are the little snake's first master. If the little snake betrays its master, the little snake will suffer backlash. After talking through it, Yuan finally figured it out. Yuan picked up the snake and said, don't move, the master will take you somewhere. As expected, Tang Snake did not move, and Yuan stepped into the space. Wow, master, it's the life ring subspace, a space artifact master, you have such a great opportunity. As soon as he came in, the snake kept chirping. Ah, there are so many elixirs and spiritual spring water, I have eaten some now. Stop it, you don't have my permission from the master, you can eat it for me to try. Yuan said sternly to Tang Snake that this guy is just a greedy snake. If she doesn't stop it, she won't even know what it will do to everything in the space. Tang Shi immediately drooped her head and wilted. Yuan stepped out of the space, found the cup that Tang Shi had used before, and then returned to the space. When Tang Snake saw Yuan go and come back, she also picked up the cup she had used. She was delighted and wondered if the owner had filled the cup with spiritual spring water for it to drink. Sure enough, Yuan took another cup, filled it with spiritual spring water and poured it into its cup. Yuan held the soaring snake between her fingers and threw it into the cup. Drink. If you want to eat anything, you can tell me. You are not allowed to move anything in the space privately. If you move it once, you will never want to enter the space to drink spiritual spring water in the future. Oh, master, the little snake knows. Then it buried its head in the cup and drank the spiritual spring water. Although the voice was very low, Yuan still heard it clearly. Yuan told Tang Shi, she came out of the space and looked at the sky. It was almost noon. She has been thinking about coming out for so long, so let's do it this time, and bring Yu Heiran and the others with her next time. So Yuan returned the same way. On the way, she was lucky and shot a big wild boar. When we arrived at Zhuangzi, it was just dark. Fourth miss, is that you? Qin Ming saw Yuan coming down from the mountain and hurriedly greeted her. Yes, Aunt Ming, it's already dark, why don't you get off work? She casually pulled a pheasant off her shoulder and gave it to Qin Mingxi. Of course, the pheasant was in a space and hung on her shoulder when she was going down the mountain. Ah, fourth miss, you gave me the shot. This is not good, we can't have it. Qin Mingxi waved her hands hurriedly. It's okay, take it, I have a lot more here. Yuan was very happy to see that Qin Ming was not a free man. Qin Mingxi couldn't push Yuan down, so she took it anyway. Thank you, Miss Fourth. Miss Fourth, please go to the room and wait. I will do it right away. Yuan waved her hand. No, Aunt Ming, I have to go back. I will come over tomorrow and the day after tomorrow when I have free time. Just take care of Zhuangzi. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 26. Chapter 26 Back Home. Well, I will send the fourth lady back. It's dark and it's not safe for you to be alone. Qin Ming ran a few steps, returned to her room, put down the pheasant, and prepared to go out to see Yuan off. Daughter-in-law, where did you come from? As soon as Qin Dazo came back, he saw Qin Mingxi carrying a pheasant. Oh, the fourth lady bought this from the mountain. I just met it. I will put it away when I come back and send the fourth lady back. You can cook first. Qin Mingxi finished speaking in one breath, and she hurried out. At this time, Yuan had already left. Seeing that there was no one around, Qin Ming returned. Yuan returned to the door with a load of game on her shoulders and 2 sticks of incense. She knocked on the door, and it was Zhang Chunyu who opened the door. When he saw it was Yuan, he quickly took the game from her shoulder. Fourth miss, please go back to your room quickly. I will call the kitchen to serve you food. Yuan closed the door and said, okay, I'll trouble Uncle Zhang. The fourth miss is serious, this is what slaves should do. Yuan waved him to go, and she returned to Sanjin Yuan. Miss Fourth is back. As soon as Yuan stepped into the courtyard, Mrs. Wu, who was standing on the steps at the door, shouted in surprise. Aunt Wu is not asleep yet, is Xiao Lu asleep? Mrs. Wu quickly held the lamp and welcomed Yuan into the house. Yes, fourth miss, sixth miss has been waiting for you to come back every day, and Mrs. Zhang only took her back to sleep when she fell asleep. He, little girl, is there nothing going on at home these days? Yuan asked. She was worried that people from the old house would come to her door. Mrs. Wu shook her head. No, it's the same as usual at home, except that Miss Six learns literacy and exercises with the young master every day. Miss Six is very smart. The young master taught her twice and she remembered it. Oh, the little girl is so smart. This surprised Yuan. But thinking about Feng's origin, how could she have a low IQ? Maybe all 7 of their brothers and sisters had inherited Feng's. As of now, there is no one with a pig brain like you to high. Yuan entered the house for a while. Zhu Degi brought water and Mrs. Li brought over food. Miss Fourth, are you going to sell or eat the game you brought back? I'll make arrangements for it. Zhu Degi gave the bucket to Mrs. Wu, and he stood aside and asked. Yuan picked up the chopsticks and ate slowly. Save them all to eat? From now on, I will eat them all without any special instructions. She took out a 500-tael silver note and gave it to Zhu Degi. Uncle Zhu, use this for the daily expenses of the house. If it's not enough, ask me for it. Zhu Degi took the banknote anxiously and said, Miss Fourth, don't worry, I will not misuse the banknote. I have it for every account. The fourth young lady in their family is very generous, unlike their former master who was always meticulous in everything he did. Asking for a piece of silver is like asking for his life. Yuan looked at Zhu Degi and said, yes, he also knows how to keep accounts. She has money in her hands, so she will naturally not make life at home as tight as before. Isn't the money earned just spent? Well, you all can go down. She had just finished her meal. Now everyone has gone down, and only Wu will go to bed after waiting for Yuan to go to bed. Yuan took a shower, changed clothes, and went to bed. She was indeed a little tired, so she fell asleep after a while. After Mrs. Wu took away the clothes that Yuan had changed, she saw that she had fallen asleep. Mrs. Wu stepped forward, checked that there were no mosquitoes in the mosquito net, then stepped back, closed the door, and returned to the wing. The next day, Yuan got up, but Xiaoliu didn't come. At this time, Wu brought breakfast and wash water. "Aunt Wu, has Xiao Lu gone to the young master's place?" Aunt Wu said with a smile. "Miss Sixth got up early. She knew you were still asleep and didn't come to wake you up. After breakfast, she went to the eldest young master's yard to exercise. These ladies are very fond of this sixth lady, she is sweet-tongued and sensible. Unlike other ladies, who always cry and make rude remarks, making things difficult for the servants. Here, there is no such thing at all. The owner is simple, and everyone does not make people worry about it. It is very worry-free. It is their blessing to be servants here." "Well, that's good. You can follow me to the kitchen later. There are a lot of chili peppers in her space. She has to teach the kitchen how to use chili peppers and make some chili sauce. Whether you eat chili sauce with rice, stir-fries or boiled noodles, it is an absolutely delicious dish." After breakfast, Yuan went into the house, holding a small cloth bag in her hand. Mrs. Wu didn't know what it was, so she followed her to the kitchen. The kitchen is in the backyard, closest to Yuan's yard, just a few steps away from the back door of her yard. Coming to the kitchen, Mrs. Li and Mrs. Yao were packing up the 3 pheasants and 5 hares that Yuan brought back yesterday. She carried so much, which made them marvel at how strong the 4th lady was. "The 4th lady is here." The 2 women saw Yuan coming to the kitchen, holding a cloth bag in her hand. Yuan found a basin for the peppers in the bag and poured them out. She said, "Aunt Li, Aunt Yao, and Aunt Wu should come and take a look too." The 3 women immediately came to Yuan, looking at the round red fruit-like things in the basin, and looked at her in confusion. Yuan pointed at the pepper and said, "This is a pepper. I picked it in the mountains. It is very spicy, but it is very flavorful when used for cooking. I will tell you how to make it later. Don't lose the seeds inside, find a vacant place and plant it." "It's true, Miss Fourth, we have never heard of this." The 3 women looked surprised. "Well, let's try putting a few chili peppers in the hare and pheasant at noon today, it's guaranteed to be delicious." It made Mrs. Li and Mrs. Yao want to try it immediately. Then Yuan told them how to use and make chili sauce, and then left the kitchen and came to the second courtyard. When I walked in, I saw that several children were running around, with Xiaoliu running at the end. Her little face was red, her 2 little buns were on top of each other, and sweat flowed down from one end and soaked her clothes. Even though she was like this, the little girl still kept running. Yuan smiled slightly. All the children in their family were good. Yuan did not go in. When Li Erniu saw her, she waved her head to Li Erniu, saying not to disturb them. She looked at it for a while, then turned around and entered the hospital. As soon as I entered the courtyard, I saw Mrs. Chen accompanying Mrs. Feng doing needlework in a small pavilion in the small garden. Yuan walked over and Mrs. Chen saw her with sharp eyes. "Miss Fourth is back, come and sit down." Ms. Chen quickly wiped the stone stool with her sleeves. Yuan nodded and walked up to Feng. She happened to be not much taller than Feng when she was sitting. She called Feng's name, "Mother." Upon hearing this, Mrs. Feng raised her head and saw Yuan. Her lips moved, "Xiao Sier. Well, Mom, do you like living here?" Although Feng's facial expression was still dull, there was some sparkle in her eyes. Ms. Feng nodded, "I like it." Yuan was so happy that Feng's condition was getting better and better. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 27. Chapter 27 Daily Life. Yuan is very happy, but she has not yet figured out any way to get rid of the love-devouring goo. This matter cannot be delayed any longer and cannot be left unattended. Yuan sat down. She poured a glass of water and poured some spiritual spring water from the space. She held the teacup and said to Feng in a warm voice, "Come on, mother, drink more water." Mrs. Feng looked up at her, nodded, took the cup, and she drank it in several sips. Then she took another piece of cloth and was embroidering it. Yuan came up and took a look. She didn't see what Feng was embroidering. She just said, "It's good. Aunt Chen, where are my father and Xiaoqi?" Back to Miss Fourth, I have taken Master 7 to Butler Zoo to learn how to read. Yuan was a little surprised. When did you Dahai sit on the millstone and want to spin it? Still learning to read? But this is fine, if you can read and have knowledge, you no longer stick to the family of Yutu, the old man of Yujia village. One day when Feng Shi got better, she was really worried that Feng Shi would not like Yu Dahai and would kick him. I have to talk to him some other time, so that he can feel a little bit in crisis, and don't focus on Lao Yu and his wife all day long. That's great, let's learn how to be a housekeeper from Uncle Zhu, Yuan said. Yuan and Mrs. Chen chatted for a while and looked at it. It was almost time. Yu Heiran and the others had finished their run and must be waiting for her. Yuan spoke to Feng and came to the second courtyard. As soon as he entered the yard, the 5 and 6 children rushed over and said, "Fourth sister, it's great that you are back. We miss you so much." Yuan pinched their faces. "It's only been a few days and I already want to die, ha ha ha." The 2 young men nodded seriously. Yuan nodded their little noses. "Fourth sister will go out a lot in the future, so what should I do?" "Then let's go with the fourth sister," the 2 young ladies said in unison. Yuan was amused by the seriousness of these 2 little ones. She held hands and walked in. "Okay, then you have to study hard and grow up quickly before you can go out with the fourth sister." "Okay, we will grow faster if we eat more and read more every day," the 2 children replied casually. "Yuan, there is no problem with this logic." Xiao Sier is back. Yu Heiran and his 3 brothers stood in a row outside the door. Yuan twitched her lips. This welcoming ceremony was a bit interesting. "Let's go, everyone go in." The brothers and sisters entered the room and sat down, with 3 young men standing beside them. "Brother, tell me what you gained during my absence these days." "Okay," Yu Heiran coughed a few times and said seriously, "Xiao Sier, we are running faster and stronger every day, and of course we eat more." Speaking of this, Yu Heiran felt a little embarrassed. Yuan glanced at them and saw that they were all suppressing laughter. "It's a good thing to be able to eat, there's nothing to be embarrassed about," Yuan said softly. Yu Heiran continued, "We can all write the words you taught us, and we all practiced according to the exercises. At first, there was nothing. Yesterday afternoon, I felt that my navel was warm and comfortable, but nothing else happened." Yu Hao and the others also nodded. "Well, I understand if you get results, you must persevere and don't give up halfway. Today I will teach you new words." Yuan thought about the Tengshi guy saying that her technique was a technique for cultivating immortals, so she asked him in the evening if it was also the Vajra art. Yuan checked their handwriting. Although they all wrote like dogs, the strokes were still in correct order. From now on, they will practice more and learn the meaning of each word, and sentence. Yuan was unsure whether she would be able to enter the school in 2 months. If it was not possible in this town, she would have to consider going to the county school. She will have to go to the school one day to see the master's level. Reading is still very important for the master. She has experienced it and knows it deeply. Being an agent requires you to go to school and learn more than ordinary people. Like her, she specializes in killing techniques and weapons, as well as languages of various countries. The killing skills are not only killing people with weapons, but one finger can also kill you. There are 7 meridians and 8 meridians of the human body, 12 main meridians, and 360 acupoints. With just a tap on some critical points, people can die quietly, and people who don't understand can't even find the cause of death. Of course, the profoundness here cannot be learned in a day or two. It also took her 6 years to learn everything. In this way, she is also a genius among geniuses. When she came here, Yuan believed that she could learn everything, because there was spiritual power in her body here, and if she used spiritual power to acupuncture, the strength would be easy to control. Yuan saw that her thoughts were going astray, so she started today's teaching. The morning is almost over. We will continue tomorrow. We will practice in the afternoon. Let's go have a meal in the morning. Yuan taught all the unknown words on the first and second levels of the exercise. Tomorrow she will start teaching the words in the Enlightenment book. Yu Heiran took his brother and sister to the kitchen, and the food was already set. Yuan went up to take a look. Sure enough, except for the vegetables, every dish contained chili peppers. Young master, fourth young lady, you can eat. The master's wife and the seventh young masters have been sent over. Mrs. Li saw that they had not served the table. Okay, let's eat. Yu Heiran sat on the table and greeted his brothers and sisters. The brothers and sisters sat down at the table and began to eat. Huh? Today's food is delicious, but it's very spicy. Shush shush. Xiao Lu peeing while eating. Well, today's food is delicious, the brothers and sisters kept praising it. Yuan buried her head in eating her food. Today's dish has chili peppers, so the taste is naturally different and delicious. Brother, what do you think about us opening a restaurant? Yuan had almost finished eating, so she asked Yu Heiran. If you don't use this unique taste to make money, it is really a waste of money. Opening a restaurant? Xiaosi, are you kidding me? Yu Heiran almost choked at Yuan's words. Can you just say it's okay, don't worry about the money? She wanted to see what Yu Heiran and the others thought. Of course it's okay, but our town doesn't have a large population. Xiao Sier wants to drive to the county town. Yu Heiran didn't believe it, but he still told the truth. Yuan looked at Yu Hao and Yu Haoshan, second brother, third brother, what do you two think? Yu Hao didn't expect Yuan to ask him. He thought for a while and said, my eldest brother and I have similar ideas, but who in our family can do business? Yu Haoshan, Xiao Sier said that he can open a restaurant. Xiao Sier will definitely know how to do it. Why should the second brother be worried? It's good to open a restaurant and we can eat meat every day, he. The three brothers all looked at Yuan. Yuan spread her hands and said, I don't know how. It's just that our family has this unique taste, so it should be okay. I think it's okay. When will Xiaosi go to the county town? Yu Heiran said. I will leave in a few days. You should learn more words first. Just like that, the decision to build the star restaurant that would become popular all over the country in the Great Yan Empire was decided through the mouths of a few little kids. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 28. Chapter 28 Daily Life 1. In the afternoon, Yuan taught everyone to start from the Zhama step. When learning martial arts, the lower body should be stable. If the lower body is unstable, the force exerted will be weak, like a flower frame, with only form but no power. Fourth Miss, shopkeeper Zhang from Yahang is looking for you at this time. Zhang Chunyu came in panting. When Yuan heard this, she knew it was shopkeeper Zhang from Yahang. She asked Yu Heiran and the others to continue practicing, and she followed Zhang Chunyu to the door. How are you, Miss Yu? Shopkeeper Zhang greeted. Hello, shopkeeper Zhang, what brings you here? It's a hot day, please go inside and drink some water. Shopkeeper Zhang waved his hand. No, it's just a matter of 2 or 3 sentences. It's like this. There is a village for sale over there in the county. It is very big, with 1,000 acres. Is Miss Yu interested? The owner is in a hurry to sell, and the rice will be available soon. Accept it. If Miss Yu is interested, I will go to the county town in 4 days to have a look. Yuan felt happy. She could come to whatever she wanted. Of course she wanted to see it. She had planned to go to the county town in a few days, but she didn't expect such a good thing. She couldn't ask for it. Okay, 4 days later, I'll come to Yahang to see you in the morning. Okay, it's settled. Zhang will be waiting for Miss Yu the day after tomorrow. Shopkeeper Zhang was glad that he had come to the right place. The boss had found several buyers but no one was willing to take a look. He thought of what Yuan had told him before. It's just that the order was relatively large, and he was worried that a young girl like Yuan could not afford it. He also came with the attitude of giving it a try, and he found the right one. If this deal is successful, his reward will be quite a lot. Shopkeeper Zhang said goodbye to Yuan and went back, and Yuan went back to continue teaching them martial arts. In the evening, after dinner and playing with Xiaolu for a while, Xiaolu fell asleep. She carried Xiaolu back to her room and let her sleep. Then she returned to her room, took out the book from the space, read for a while, and turned off the lights. Go to bed. In the dead of night, Yuan entered the space. As soon as she entered, a snake floated in front of her like a line of smoke. Master, I'm hungry. Yuan slapped it, took the cup, filled it with a glass of water, and threw it in to drink. She remembered that there were 2 little white tigers in the space, and when she walked over, they were howling hungry. Yuan patted her head lightly. Fortunately, the 2 of them did not starve to death. She immediately mashed the fruit and added spiritual spring water and placed it in front of the 2. The 2 began to sniff with their noses, and then began to eat wildly. Well, it's okay if they want to eat, otherwise where will she get milk for them to drink? Little snake, my master is asking you. Yuan walked to Tang Snake and picked it up. Ouch, master, why are you holding up my tail? Let it go now. If you have any questions, master, if you ask, the little snake will definitely know everything and tell you everything. Oh, the master forgot not to lift the snake's tail. Yuan put the snake on the ground. Little snake, do you know how to remove the poisonous bug when someone is infected? Yuan thought that this guy should know something about it after living for so long. Goo insect, master, isn't this a trivial matter? It's so trivial, okay. Little snake, what do you mean by such a trivial thing? Yuan was overjoyed. She was so confused that this guy actually said it was trivial, and he really became a spirit. Of course, sir, little snakes are more poisonous than other snakes. Anything with poison is a delicacy for little snakes. Tang Snake has another method that he didn't mention, which is the technique practiced by Yuan, which can force out the poisonous insects by using spiritual power. Just to see her cultivation level, forget it, it's better not to say anything, so as not to shock her. Young master, he personally took action. If you eat mature goo insects, you can also enhance your cultivation. Why should I talk about such a good thing? Snort. Really, geez, it's a good thing I asked you for extra dinner today. The master will roast a chicken for you, Yuan said boldly. She did what she said and immediately roasted a chicken for Tang Shi. After Tang Snake finished eating a chicken, it believed that it was not dreaming. Today, the owner took the initiative to roast chicken for it, just to help the owner get a worm. Tang Snake was extremely happy in her heart. The master worked hard and got delicious food to eat. Should he help the master work in the future, and the master would bake delicious food for it when he was happy? I will help the master with more work from now on. A lot of roast chicken. Yuan saw that Tang Shi's triangular eyes were narrowed into a slit. What did this mean? Little snake, can we go get the poison tomorrow? Of course, it's okay now, it also wants to eat roast chicken. Not now, it's night outside, let's go to sleep. Yuan yawned, climbed into bed and fell asleep. Seeing that Yuan fell asleep so quickly, Tengshi jumped into her quilt and wrapped around her wrist. Its body miraculously shrank to the same size as her wrist, like a jasper bracelet. The next day, Yuan got up early, had breakfast, and took Xiaoliu's hand and walked towards the second courtyard. When they entered, the four Yuhairan brothers were already waiting. Today she also joined them. After they ran away, she and Xiaoliu ran behind. Yuan saw Xiaoliu running in a decent manner, which showed that this little girl was serious about it. She observed everyone's running movements and frequency, and all achieved her desired results. After running around the small courtyard for a full 200 times, brothers Yuhairan and Xiaolu could no longer hold on. She and the three boys were still present on the field. Yuan was very satisfied with the three boys. They were perseverant enough and worthy of her training. Yuan was the only one running in the end. Yuhairan and the others, who were resting in the yard, saw her running for so long without blushing or heartbeat. They were all envious and secretly cheered in their hearts to catch up with Xiao Sier. Yuan was able to run for so long today without blushing or her heart beating, all thanks to the snake on her wrist. When she got up in the morning and changed her clothes, she saw an extra jade bracelet on her wrist. She was shocked. After taking a closer look, she saw that the bracelet had a snake-like beginning and a snake tail. If she still didn't understand something, she patted it and figured it out. At the beginning of the run, she was fine, but when she ran 100 laps, she was out of breath. At this time, Tang Snake's voice came, "Stupid, you don't know how to use your spiritual power on your feet. This way you can exercise your body and practice it. After you finish running, you can meditate and practice immediately." "Master, let's see the difference." Yuan rolled her eyes at Tang Snake, "Your master, I don't know how to do it. Please tell me what to do." Tang Shi told Yuan a series of exercise routes, and she immediately followed them. Sure enough, 2 streams of air flowed from her dantian along the meridians to the soles of her feet. She suddenly relaxed, and the weakness in her feet disappeared. The body is full of power. She is running at home. If she is in the wild, she believes that she can really fly on the grass. "Little snake, it's really awesome. How about a roast rabbit tonight?" Okay, master, the little snake likes it." Quack, 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 Tang Snake was extremely happy in her heart. If she really made her master happy, she would have something delicious to eat. "Hey, little snake, look at what kind of immortality cultivation technique my elder brother and his friends are practicing," Yuan forgot to ask last night and just wanted to show it to the little snake. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 29. Chapter 29, The Poison Insect. It should be so, they have some spiritual energy fluctuations. Yuan heard this and said, "This is more or less the same. The products produced by space must be of high quality. The people who used space in the past cannot accept some mainland products to occupy space." Finally, Yuan used up all the spiritual energy in her dantian before ending her morning run for the day. Yuan did not rest as usual, but practiced cross-legged on the spot where the sun was rising. Just as Teng Shi said, the surrounding spiritual energy poured into her dantian like life, and she quickly practiced according to the exercise route. Yuan felt so comfortable and magical, so she devoted herself to selfless practice. The brothers on the side saw that Yuan was not resting, so they meditated on the spot. They thought about it and sat down to practice like Yuan. Li Erniu and a few women brought water in. What they saw was a group of children sitting on the ground, breathing in a strange posture. They quickly retreated, knowing that the masters were practicing something, and their children were also inside, so they immediately made a gesture not to disturb them. Sure enough, Yu felt that practicing like this morning made the warm feeling in his lower abdomen even worse. He practiced with more concentration as described in the exercises. Yu Haoshan, and Xiao and Xiaoliu all had the same feeling, and they all swallowed quietly. An hour later, Yuan took a long breath and opened her eyes. She had gained a lot this morning. She felt that the spiritual energy stored in her danshan had reached saturation, and she would definitely advance to the second level after practicing for a few more days. How is it? Master, the little snake didn't lie to you, Tang Snake said with a flattering look. It's okay, you greedy snake is still of some use. I know you want to eat roast chicken, don't worry, as long as you behave and don't play tricks, the master will give you roast chicken every day. Yuan glanced at it. Didn't this guy know that it was excited for a moment and let her know what it was thinking, little boy? She didn't know that she could cut off the telepathy between her and the contracted beast. She thought that if she wanted the greedy snake to know what she was thinking, then what privacy would she have? You can keep it from knowing. Yuan had just that thought at that time, and sure enough, since then, she has never heard the little snake say what was on her mind. Master, the little snake is useful. It is of great use. The little snake will obey the master's words obediently. Tang Snake was anxious, it was overly excited, it had turned off the telepathy with its master, but it couldn't figure out why it had forgotten to turn it off. If the snake had hands, it would definitely be as big as me, and you would be so proud of it. Its owner is not a real 9-year-old kid, she is an out-and-out killer who kills without blinking an eye. Well, just do your duty as a contracted beast. Yuan had better bang it. This guy was just a bit greedy and had no intention of harming anyone. Otherwise, Tang Shi would have poisoned her in a matter of minutes on the mountain. Seeing that his master had no intention of hating him, Tang Shi nuzzled Yuan's wrist with his head. Yuan ignored it at the moment. She stood up. Oh, the courtyard was full of people. Yu Heiran and the others were also sitting on the ground, crossing their legs and meditating. She walked out of the small courtyard gently and returned to her room. Mrs. Wu had already put the water in. She washed and changed clothes and came out of the room. At this moment, Yu Heiran and the others were still practicing. Seeing that it was still early, she went to Feng's courtyard. Mrs. Wu saw that Yuan had finished washing and left. She picked up Yuan's dirty clothes and went out. When Yuan entered Feng's yard, Mrs. Chen took her to look at the flowers in the garden. Today, a few flowers bloomed, and the whole yard was filled with a faint floral fragrance. She didn't know what kind of flower it was, but the smell was really good. Miss Forth is here, Mrs. Chen stepped forward and saluted her. Well, Aunt Chen, please help my mother into the house, and I'll show her. Yuan also stepped forward to help Feng. Entering Feng's bedroom, she saw that there was only Feng's belongings in the bedroom. She frowned and asked Mrs. Chen, Aunt Chen, why does my mother sleep alone? Mrs. Chen looked embarrassed and said, my wife requested it. Yuan helped Feng sit on the stool in front of the dressing table and looked at Feng. Today, Mrs. Feng's eyes are even brighter. Yuan guesses that Mrs. Feng doesn't like you to high. Yuan was very confused. What if Feng Shi was cured and she left immediately? She couldn't bear it if Feng's family was not cured. She pulled up another chair and sat down, looked into Feng's eyes, and said to her, Mom, are you willing for Xia to treat you? Feng's dull face showed no expression, but her eyes suddenly brightened, and then she nodded. Yuan sighed, and finally gave in. She said to Chen, Aunt Chen, close the door and guard it outside. No one is allowed in. Ms. Chen quietly exited and closed the door. Yuan said to Tang Snake, little snake, the poisonous insect is in my mother's body, what do you do with it? Tang Snake scanned Feng's body and found that there was a round thing in her heart, which was still bulging and mature. It said, "Master, the worm has matured and is in the heart of the mistress. You will lay her down on the bed later and I will eat out from her abdomen." So simple. Master, what do you mean it's so simple? Does the little snake have to use spiritual power to understand it? It's just that it didn't say that it was a mythical beast. It was such a little insect that it could breathe out and breathe it in with some spiritual power. Only mortals would be helpless against this thing. Oh, Yuan understood. She just had to use her own spiritual power to force it out. She looked at her hands. Okay, she couldn't just let Saring snake it. Didn't it say it wanted to eat that kind of thing? It's just right. Yuan helped Ms. Feng get up. Mom, lie down on the bed. The thing is in your stomach. I will use my internal strength to force it out in a while. Don't worry, it will be fine soon. Ms. Feng nodded and lay down on the bed. Yuan sat on the edge of the bed and lifted Ms. Feng's clothes, revealing her deeply sunken belly. This emotion-devouring goo not only eats the 7 emotions and 6 desires, but also eats human essence and blood, torturing Feng until she no longer looks like a human. Yuan sighed and put the snake in the palm of her hand. Only the snake's mouth bit Feng's belly. Master, if this poisonous insect is not taken out, your mother will not live for more than a year, and she will not have much energy left. Well, let's get started. If you have anything to say, we'll talk about it later. Right away, master. Tengshi immediately shut up. After a while, a finger-sized lump bulged in Feng's heart, and it was still swimming slowly towards Tengshi's mouth. Yuan looked at Feng and saw that her face was still expressionless, only her eyes were slightly narrowed, indicating that she was in pain. But Feng didn't move. It seemed that she was a tolerant person. End of this chapter. The Brave Life of a Space Peasant Girl. Author, Lan Department. Chapter 30. Chapter 30. Feng Shi wakes up. I don't know what Feng went through back then that made her so determined. The voodoo insect was very close to Tang Snake's mouth. Suddenly it sucked hard. The voodoo insect seemed to be scared. After struggling for a few times, it still entered Tang Snake's mouth. With Yuan's thought, Tang Shi entered the space and let it digest in the space. Yuan put down Feng's clothes. The skin bitten by the snake now only left a scar. Her eyes lit up, so fast she thought it would take a few days for the wound to heal. Yuan covered Feng with the quilt, but she fainted from the pain. She opened the door and said, "Aunt Chen, stay here to guard my mother and give her water when she wakes up. I have to go out and ask the doctor. She has to go to the old doctor, and she doesn't know how to heal. Feng's voodoo has been taken out, but it still needs to be nursed back to health. She doesn't have that ability anymore." "Okay, fourth miss, don't worry." Yuan saw Mrs. Chen sitting by the bed guarding Mrs. Feng. She hurried out and came to the gate, and Zhang Chunyu opened the door for her immediately. Yuan quickly came to Yong'an Hall. When she entered the door, she saw that there were a lot of people seeing a doctor today. She stood aside and waited. The old doctor who was seeing a doctor saw Yuan coming and saw her waiting quietly aside. After examining the one in his hand, he got up and went to the back hall. After a while, a doctor in his 30s sat down to replace the old doctor. Then he waved to Yuan. Seeing this, Yuan walked towards the inner hall. She said to the old doctor, "Old doctor, the bug has been removed from my mother's body. She is very weak. I need to trouble the old doctor to run over." The old doctor was not in a hurry at all. He pointed to the stool and said, "Sit down and speak slowly." Yuan could only sit down and looked at the old doctor's expression, as if he knew what the situation was. The old doctor sipped his tea. "Don't worry, I'll prescribe some medicine and you'll be fine in a few months. Also, I want you to do me a favor. I wonder if the girl is willing." Yuan thought for a moment and said, "Okay, but I won't leave the county town. She didn't need to think about it, she knew what the old doctor asked her to do. When the old doctor first diagnosed Feng, she knew that he must have seen this kind of goo insect. Moreover, it is the same kind of poison as the one in the Feng family, so that person must have some connection with the Feng family. As for Feng's matter, she is the biological mother of the original owner. She doesn't want to get involved. It's impossible, it's just a matter of time. So she was willing to take action. When the old doctor heard what Yuan said, the sadness on his face eased a lot. He said, "Okay, as long as the girl can cure the patient, there is no need to mention the reward. If the girl has any requirements, just ask for it." Yuan waved her hand, "The old doctor is serious. Let's cure the disease first." "Okay, that's settled, where can I find you then?" Yuan looked at the old doctor with a half smile. "Old doctor, why bother asking, I believe you can find me." As soon as she entered the inner hall, the person hiding in the darkness of the beam leaked his breath when he saw her. Secret guard, she knew how this old doctor was an ordinary person. Maybe even the Feng family would recognize him. The old doctor touched his nose and smiled, "Okay, I will definitely come to the door when the time comes. Girl, sit here for a while I go get some medicine." The old doctor ran out as if he was running away. Yuan nodded, "It's troublesome." The old doctor went out to get medicine for Feng, and Yuan took a few sips of tea. "Well, the tea is not bad." The old doctor came in with 6 packs of medicine and put them on the table. "Girl, the medicine has been prepared." "How much silver?" The old doctor shook his head, "You don't need any silver? This is not worth much." Yuan was not polite. She took the medicine bag, said goodbye to the old doctor, left Yong'an Hall, and went home. The old doctor looked at Yuan leaving and couldn't help but sigh, "This child looks so much like the eldest princess. Alas, the poor eldest princess is living here." With a move of his hand, the secret guard who was hiding in the darkness came down quietly and entered a secret room with the old doctor. He immediately wrote a letter in handwriting and handed it to the secret guard beside him. "You must give it to the second master and let someone arrange to send the third master." The secret guard took the letter and in a flash, the person disappeared. Yuan quickly returned to the house with the medicine. The concierge Zhang Chunyu opened the door and said, "Uncle Zhang, take the medicine to the kitchen and ask Aunt Li to fry it and send it to the wife's room immediately." "Okay, Miss Fourth." Zhang Chunyu took the medicine bag and ran to the kitchen. Yuan went directly into Feng's courtyard. As soon as she entered, Yu Dahai was walking around in the courtyard, and Mrs. Peng was holding Xiao Qi with an anxious look on her face. Yu Dahai saw that it was Yuan who was back, and he hurriedly stepped forward. "Xiao Sier, hurry up, your mother is looking for you." Yuan was confused, why did Feng wake up and look for her? She walked a few steps quickly and arrived in front of Feng's door. "Xiao Sier, what's wrong with mother, is she clamoring to see you?" Yu Hairan and his brothers were all standing in the main room, very anxious. "I don't know either, let's see what's going on first." She knocked on the door, then pushed it open and went in. Feng had already woken up, half leaning on the pillow, her face was still sallow and her expression was sluggish. But there was an expression on her face, and she looked very anxious. Seeing Yuan come in, she struggled to get up. Seeing this, Yuan came forward and sat on the edge of the bed. "Mom, you are not in good health now, don't be in a hurry, please speak slowly." Mrs. Feng felt better now, and her hoarse and weak voice sounded, "Xiao Sier, mother is sorry for you." Yuan patted Feng's hand and said, "You have not sorry for us. We know that mom has her difficulties." Yuan thought about it, the reason Feng wanted to see her so urgently was just because of her life experience, or because she was someone with the same kind of bug. She was the one who removed the poison for Fengxi. It was definitely the latter that Fengxi was anxious about. She said, Mom, don't worry, Xiao Sier knows what you are anxious about. I just went to Yong'an Hall to get medicine for you. I have promised the old doctor to help cure a person's poison. No matter how big the matter is, I still need you. Take good care of your health. Ms. Feng was startled. She held Yuan's wrist tightly, and she didn't even know that Yuan had scratched her. Really? Yuan nodded, really. As soon as Ms. Feng felt relaxed, she collapsed on the bed. Immediately, my face burst into tears, and I kept sobbing bitterly. Yuan took out a handkerchief and wiped Feng's tears. Cry, mother, it will be fine after you cry. Yuan sighed. This poor woman was reduced to this remote mountainous area to be the wife of a cowardly and incompetent man, and she still suffered continuously for 10 years. It's unbearable to put it on anyone's head, let alone Feng's past status. Feng's cry alarmed people outside. Xiao Sier, can we come in? Yu Heiran's voice sounded outside. Come in. The door was pushed open, and Yu Heiran came in with 6 brothers and sisters. They stood by the bed and looked at Feng, who was crying and about to die. Mother. Seeing that Ms. Feng was crying so sadly, Xiao, Xiaoliu and Xiaoqi, they were still children after all, so they all jumped on Ms. Feng and cried loudly. End of this chapter.